That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
You want to kick this conversation about Lost Boys off right? I mean, you want to kick it off really right?
Let's do it.
The way you kick it off really right is to talk about things that are not only just wrong, they ain't right.
That ain't right, it ain't right, nothing right about it, no, it ain't right, no, it ain't right, no, that ain't right, it ain't right, it sure as hell ain't right, it sure as hell ain't right.
That ain't right. That ain't right. That sure as hell ain't right. All right. So this is the segment that we go into, as we mentioned, things about this film that not only are just wrong, they ain't right. So Lost Boys has quite a few things in there. I'm going to go to each of our guests. Remember, you're aiming for the top. Okay. So what is we're going to have 5 of these, I guess, amongst all of us. So what is your, Dave, I'm going to go to you first. As our representative, Mr. McFly, what is your number 1 from the Lost Boys that ain't right?
Can I include a personal story to explain
Please,
why?
by all means. Yeah, by all means.
So my that ain't right moment is, I believe it was a stuffed squirrel, right? That's in his room staring at him.
Yeah.
When he's ready to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a true story. Back in my band days, I took a tour out to the east coast of Canada, and along the way we were staying with different hosts, different people, and so me and the bass player got to stay with a couple that we did not know, and so they invited us, and it was really weird, a really weird setup from the get-go. There was her and her husband was in this like really dark room sitting in a chair. He didn't say anything when we came in. He's just sitting there. And we're like, okay, that's weird. And so we went through the whole thing, and eventually we were ready for bed. It took me to where I was sleeping, and no word of a lie, I walk into the room, and the whole room is just decorated with McDonald's iconography, like these little lamps, and they're all lit up. Like every single one of them is lit up, and they're all faces. And it goes literally made a circle around the entire room.
What?
And so
Did you grimace?
She came in and she told me the one thing I was not allowed to do was turn any of those lights off.
No.
So I'm sitting there in the bed. All of these eyes, Ronald McDonald eyes and characters from the restaurant are just staring at me. And I'm like, what is this?
Oh,
and
The one thing. You can take a dump in the corner, but don't turn the lights on.
yeah, I was not allowed to touch them, and she made it very clear: do not touch any of these.
oh my God.
And then the next day, she packed us a lunch, and she literally cut
A Happy Meal. Yeah.
No, she gave us a muffin, and she cut the tops of the muffins off and gave us the muffin bottoms. We didn't realize that until we opened the bag lunch afterwards. It's like, what? You just cut all the muffin tops off and gave us the bottoms.
There's a novel waiting to happen from that entire
That's
You
experience.
need to go
right.
find some microfiche of that area and that time frame. That something happened after y'all left. And it's not pleasant.
No, indeed.
Because you know the problem with Santa Rosa or Santa Carla, I could never stomach is all the hamburglers.
and mental note for somebody who does not know the West Coast, trying to look up where it takes place is not going to lead you anywhere by typing in Santa Carla. It's not a real place.
Not a real place. Not a real place.
We got to learn by doing, Dave. Learn by doing.
Jackson, what is yours? That is not the taxidermy squirrel in the room. What's your peak?
I had a lot of choices because there's some really. So I have got to go with Death by Stereo.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good choice.
There was many worthy contenders, but I don't know. That was just like a nice little button on the movie.
It is awesome. Oh,
you think you've seen the best kill, and then all the kills are pretty great, but something about the way he's just convulsing and the sparks are flying everywhere, and he starts to all kind of melt. It's just like, it's so gross. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's got to be death by stereo. Plus, I thought the phrase death by stereo, and then they actually said it in the movie.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. A worthy
and
choice.
I'd seen the movie before, but it had been a long time, so I didn't remember.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That was on my list. It wasn't at the top, but that was on my list. Ian, what was what's your that ain't right moment?
My most ain't right moment is when poor Bill S. Preston gets staked. In the cave.
That's rough.
And then
goose all over everything.
And then there's glittery diarrhea spilling on everyone. And Corey Haim is just taking it. He doesn't move at all. But
oh my God.
What I love is how calmly he tells his mom later, like, I have evidence on me. Look. Just like that. Like,
look, see? Take a whiff.
See the glittery diarrhea?
Oh my gosh, glitteria. Yeah.
Oh my God.
What's funny is I actually liked that, because I feel like in movies often it's like the person falls in the pool or whatever, and literally the next scene they're dry. You know, so I kind of liked the continuity there of
continuity guy gets some serious kudos.
We don't have enough glittery diarrhea on him. Yeah. Touch him up between takes.
Oh my gosh.
That was rough. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. So I just want to, before we go into the next one, Nathan, I'm coming to you next, but I just got to say, like, I think the Bill and Ted movies and this are the only things I know Alex Winter from. Like, it's like, I always think about whenever I pull up Lost Boys, I'm always like, oh yeah, Bill's in this. Like, I didn't realize, I'd forgotten all about it.
Before he was Bill.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, he gets chunked out. Exactly. But no, so a lot of love to Alex Winter. Nathan, what's your most ain't right that hadn't already been mentioned?
Well, you know what? Thinking of making a little curveball here for you. So we've got no, it's okay. There's 5 of us here. 4 of you are gonna have an ain't right. So we've got what saves us coming. And who knows, we may incorporate something like this in there of that's so right. Because there is a I know. I already know where you're going. You know, something French, some French word I don't know how to say of this movie that like just catapults it above the rest. And you know, it's not ain't right. This is that's so right. There are a few things more right than a buff, oily dude playing the saxophone at a local carnival. Like a local thing. Like, I am so enthralled with the story here. I feel like
that's exactly what I thought.
It's kind of like in you know, like I don't know, think like in A New Hope, Obi-Wan talking about that was the dark times, you know, like this story that's not meant to be told, just suggested. Like, it's that. It's like, I want to know, but I don't want to know.
Like,
because
what led this man from a career in professional wrestling?
It's like, yes, it's like we're talking about the wonder of discovery. Like this tantalizing thing that's just out of reach is the story of oily dude and his extremely buff physique coupled with a rather skilled saxophoning, right?
Well, and he's got a maple syrupy voice too. Like, his voice is actually really nice.
He is
absolutely
perfection given form. And
the chain necklace.
Is this a local act in Santa Clara? You know, maybe when Dave does his research on the real Santa Clara, he'll find
it's like Frodo overhearing Aragorn singing about Beren and Luthien, and then he's like, oh, what's that about? And then Tolkien's like, well, no, we're not going to do that right now.
Oh my God. It's one of my favorite memes that social media has ever given us, because I was so surprised. It's one of those things where, like, you know, the meme structure where it'll say like nobody, you know, it'll have dots and it'll have some punchline. Well, this one said nobody ... and then it said not a damn person And then it said the Lost Boys writers. You know what this movie needs? And then it's got all I still believe like right there.
Well, I mean, I was already kind of like on board with the film. I like the general structure of it. It's a bit out of the box in terms of a traditional presentation of a vampire story. So I liked that, and we can get into particulars if we want. But so I was already, so it's the non-traditional vampire story. It's kids in a comic shop, and then it's Bret Hart, just like old up, ready.
Execution.
Yeah, he retired.
He's more of a Shawn Michaels type.
Yes, that's who I'm thinking of. Yes.
Yeah. Great kid.
Regardless, I mean, fill in the blank.
It's so passionate. He cannot contain his physicality.
It's amazing. Someone sign that guy to a multi-record deal, or don't. He is as much a mythical being in that town as these vampires are. It's amazing. He's a unicorn.
Oh my God.
Yeah, people are like, so. Michael is like talking to people like looking for a job, and he's like, "You see that oiled guy singing last night?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" It's just like this phantom that sometimes.
Yes.
What the real on stage last night?
what the real story is that what that really is that's what Grandpa's really doing on Friday night. He drinks this potion.
Yes.
Polyjuice. That.
But like you can buy his CD single that night, and it evaporates by daylight. It's like the sun comes up and it's gone, and he doesn't show up until a year.
Bippity boppity bye, like it's just like completely evaporated. Oh my God, I'm so glad that you brought up I Still Believe. That is so wonderful.
So that's so right.
You know what? It is. It's perfect. It's a perfect.
It's a good inauguration of the title.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. I will say, not to bring us to somber moment, but it is worth pouring out a cold one as of this recording. It was this week. As of broadcast, it'll be last week. We lost a very talented and prolific director in Richard Donner. It is worth noting that Richard Donner produced this film, so pour a cold one out for Richard Donner and his inclusion here. But my number one that ain't right has got to be friggin' them handing. I love Chinese food. God knows I love Chinese food. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. But then if there's anything that threatens to undermine my affection for Chinese food, it's the whole sequence where David is handing boxes of glorious Chinese food. I love that scene in the movie. Any movie where, you want to order some dinner, and then they've got just all those little takeout boxes, and I always have the same thought where I'm saying, what's in that? Oh man, you got some beef chow mein in there. What? Oh, you got some steak fried rice. What is that? And so, but then when he hands it to him, and he's like, "You're eating maggots."
Makers to get automatic buy-in from Reed.
Yes, that's it. That's all you need. Just open with the Chinese takeout boxes, and I'm in. But like he's the whole thing where he's like, "You're eating maggots," and then he looks at it and it's worms, and it's just like, that ain't right.
What I love about that moment is you've got Kiefer just selling the hell out of his prop. It's like, I got my chopsticks. You want some, Mike? And it's like, you don't know what you're doing, do you?
Nobody eats noodles that way.
It's like I read a story one time about Hugh Jackman, being cast in something in particular. I can't remember, but it was like, can you ride a horse? And he was like, yes. It doesn't matter. It's like, you just say yes because you want the role. It's like they said to Jack Bauer, like, can you use chopsticks, sir? And he's like, yes. But then you watch him in that scene, you're like, that brother does not know how to use chopsticks.
At least his voice is different than from Dark City.
I thought that. Oh, thank God.
Agreed.
I was ready.
Oh man. So I think that is enough said about the Chinese food that wasn't really Chinese food. So Andrew, take us out for another installment of That Ain't Right.
That sure as hell ain't right.